Non-communicable diseases are silent but a growing crisis, including conditions such as cancer, diabetes, among others. Health workers have warned that these diseases are on the rise. Nutritionists have cautioned the public to be mindful of what they eat in order to reduce the risk of developing these lifestyle-related illnesses. For example, eating food high in fats may not mean that one already has a non-communicable disease, but it increases the risk of developing one. It predisposes one to being overweight and obese, especially in cases where individuals rarely exercise.
Every time you go to serve food, let's say you're in a meeting, and then you realize that every food that has been served is actually fried. So you need to measure how much of the fat you need to eat. For instance, if I go to a table to serve, and there is food that has been fried from table one to the last, I don't need to take everything fried.
Processed sugars are also a risk factor.
If you continually take too much sugar in tea, in porridge, in juice, in sodas, in processed products, there is a risk that actually you're taking in too much sugar, which are also empty calories that your body is not sufficiently using. And so the body ends up getting this too much sugar and condenses it and stores it for you in form of fat. And of course now when you have too much fat, people start putting on a lot of weight.
Nutritionists have called for the consumption of traditional staple foods such as matoke and kalo, which are recommended as healthier alternatives to processed foods. However, some experts warn that portion size still matters and must be observed.
We usually don't advertise our staple foods. That's why some of the processed foods are consumed more than our staple foods. When I go back to our staple foods, it goes back to where do you grow them. Some of the soils that we grow our staple foods are not rich in nutrients. So you get staple foods that are actually looking like staple foods, but they are missing the other nutritional value.
These foods, when whole, are actually having nutrients that you cannot get from processed foods. But every time you're processing this food, you're actually removing most of those nutrients. So talk about maybe vitamins, vitamin B complex or other micronutrients. Every time you're highly processing this particular food, you're actually throwing them away. And so we end up missing the nutrients in the food, and we end up eating food with actually less or no nutrients.
Michael Jembe, president of the Allied Nutritionists Association, says that even staple foods can lose their nutritional value if they are poorly prepared or grown in nutrient-depleted soil. He emphasized that how food is prepared is just as important as what is eaten.
It goes back to where do you grow them. Some of the soils that we grow our staple foods are not rich in nutrients. So you get staple foods that are actually looking like staple foods, but they are missing the other nutritional value.
Take an instance, if someone is preparing chips, you have to get the chips and you dip them in oil. Moreover, this oil has been probably used over and over again. That is one of the challenges we have.
But how can one know how much they should be consuming, especially when portion sizes are mentioned?
We recommend that you need to have fruits and vegetables taking a little bit the biggest portion of your meal because they are whole.
According to the World Health Organization, in 2021, 18 million people died from a non-communicable disease before the age of 70. Nobat Atkunda, NCV News.